On the road here. Testing 1, 2. Very good. Welcome, everyone. Today's date is June 13, 2022, which happens to be my younger daughter's birthday. Time is 5:30 p.m. We're at the City Hall Council Chambers at 10 West State Street for a regular City Council of Marshalltown meeting. I called a meeting to order with this notice to the public that the Mayor and Council welcome comments from the public during the discussion of any of the items on the agenda. You're required to step to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and limit your time to 3 minutes or less so that others may be given a similar opportunity to speak. Speakers shall speak clearly and direct their comments to the Mayor and Council in general and not to any councilor specifically, and it's at the discretion of the Mayor and the Council to respond to those specific questions and comments or to have staff respond during the meeting. With that as the opening, let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Hoop.
Here.
Isom.
Here.
Kell.
Here.
Lottie-Hoff.
Here.
Schneider.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Very good. Full house. We're trying out a new sound system, so we'll see how the microphones work here. And as I understand it, we'll be getting the visual things happening with the cameras at a later date. It's time now for any mayor, council, and administrator comments. Madam Administrator, do you have any comments tonight?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Any councilors up here have any comments?
Yes, sir, I do.
Please go for it.
Yes, Your Honor. I believe in credit where credit is due. I'd like to applaud JBS. They've been working really hard on the odor problem that they have. I know that they're investing over $2 million into their rendering plant. It's not perfect yet, but you can tell there's a good difference going on, and the neighborhood really appreciates that. Also, tomorrow night on June 14th at 5 p.m., there will be a meeting for anyone who is interested in hosting or helping any Ukrainian refugees who might come to Marshalltown. Myself and Bill Martin will be hosting it. This is not a city function. It will be at Hope Methodist Church at 5 p.m. tomorrow night. If you're interested in hosting, helping, or just curious about the project, please come. Thank you, Your Honor.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. I have two thank yous to give. One is for Councilor Lottie-Hoff for attending the 911 Commission meetings for me last week. On a moment's notice, our older daughter gave birth last Sunday, so we went out to California and got to spend some time with her, yet to be unnamed, but I know you all want to know it's 7 pounds, 11 ounces, and 22 inches, and she's cute as a bug. And so thank you for covering for me. And then Roger Shell has been our city attorney for as long as I can remember. I only vaguely remember Kurt Ward was here once when I first started on the council, and Roger graciously gave us a letter of retirement, and so if he's unable to make the next meeting, as I understand it, you might have some vacation time build up, Roger. This may be the last meeting at which we'll have you here officially as the city attorney, but he's been our go-to person for so many meetings for so many years, and then behind the scenes doing the work on processing the emails and handling the litigation cases and property transfers. And I have to tell you, with the things that we've had to deal with the tornado and the derecho, there have been a good number of those things to have to handle. So at this time, I'd like to recognize and maybe call for some applause for Roger Shell for being our city attorney. We'll have to get our Hawkeye reports from somebody else now, I guess. All right, on to the next item, which is approval of the consent agenda. I have a note here to remove items 3, 7, 8, 11, and 16. And with those removed, is there anybody moving to approve the rest?
I'd make the motion, Your Honor.
Thank you. Very good. Call the roll.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Very good. Would you read those, and we'll skip over the ones that we excluded?
Approve the minutes for the May 23rd, 2022 meeting. The bill list in the amount of $2,110,792.19. Received a building permit report for May 2022. Approved liquor license renewals for Mama DeGredo's Pizza and Pasta, Friends of the Orpheum Theater. Approved the renewal of applications for State of Iowa retail cigarette, tobacco, nicotine, and vapor licenses through June 30th of 2023 for Get and Go number 34 at 3302 South Center Street, Get and Go number 35, 902 West Lincoln Way, Jiffy number 922 at 111 South 3rd Avenue, Shag at 2500 South Center Street, number 1450, Quick Star number 706 at 810 South 3rd Avenue, Quick Star number 607 at 814 South 6th Street, Quick Star number 394 at 2500 South Center Street, Eastside Liquor and Grocery at 1116 East Nevada Street, Marshalltown BWS at 11 North 3rd Avenue, Marshalltown Tobacco and Vape Outlet at 19 West Main Street, Depot Liquor and Grocery at 114 North Center Street, Family Dollar Store number 22186 at 327 South 3rd Avenue, Bond's Pub at 22 North 1st Avenue. Resolution approving engagement letter with Bond Counsel Dorsey and Whitney LLP for the 2022 to 2024 State Revolving Fund Sewer System Improvement Financing. Resolution setting a public hearing for the conveyance and transfer of title of city-owned lots. Resolution accepting bid and authorizing the purchase of one 2018 Ford Edge vehicle from Jensen Ford for the price of $32,595 for the use in the police department as a detective vehicle, and declaring certain property surplus property and authorizing sale and disposal thereof to Jensen Ford of one 2014 Dodge Caravan vehicle for $8,500. Resolution approving a temporary construction easement agreement with Jarm Building Company for the demolition of 101 West Main Street. Resolution approving the 28E interagency agreement between the Iowa Department of Inspections and Appeal and the City of Marshalltown. Agreement expires August 22nd of 2023. Resolution approving a temporary construction easement agreement with Melinda Utermark for the demolition of 10 and 12 West Main Street. Resolution approving contract change order number 9 for the hangar terminal and site improvement projects number APR 19001, an increase in the amount of $4,658.19. Resolution setting the date for the public hearings and additional action on proposals to enter into general obligation loan agreements and to borrow money thereunder. Resolution to fix the date for the public hearing on proposal to enter into a sewer revenue loan and disbursement agreement and to borrow money thereunder in a principal amount not to exceed $13,125,000. Resolution approving contract change order number 1 for the Edgewood Extension Project number STR 19003, an increase of $9,675. Resolution approving the engineer's statement of completion and accepting WRH Inc. Final Clarifier Project, being project number WPC 20001. Resolution adopting the Community Development Block Grant Subrecipient Procurement Policies and Procedures. Resolution approving a consent to assignment of the development agreement from Sims Company LLC to Pinnacle Bank.
Very good. Thank you. That just saved us about a day and a half if we'd had to go through each one of those individually. Let's go on to number 3. That was, which one is that?
Approve the civil service hire list for planner.
Is there a motion to approve number 3?
So moved.
Second. Okay, discussion?
Your Honor, I'm sorry, who was the second?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Mr. Schneider? Okay.
Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
Since we continue to have a budget shortfall and there's things we're going to discuss later in this meeting about that, and further discussions will come during budget time, how to fix that, I just want to propose the idea that we don't have to fill this position tonight. We can hold off to see where we are fund-wise. I think there's going to be some other changes in that department as far as funding. I think we lose some grants that help pay some of the salaries. So I think it'd be prudent to at least discuss this, to maybe put this on hold for at least a couple weeks or a month until we have some answers on the budget shortfall. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anyone else up at the council dais wish to address this? Anybody in the public? Roll call.
Walker,
No.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Bodyhoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
No.
Very good. That carried. On to number 7 then for us, please.
resolution setting public hearings for the conveyance and transfer of title of 2.43 acres of land to the Marshalltown YMCA.
Floor is
Motion.
open for motion.
Motion for approval, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Second.
Very good. Discussion.
Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
I was asked by a citizen to pull us off the consent agenda so they could make some comments, if you would approve.
All right. Well, the floor is open for anybody up here to discuss first. Is there any discussion about this? The public microphone is open.
Mark Eaton, 1007 South 10th Avenue. Can you hear that? I didn't think so. So Mark Eaton, 1007 South 10th Avenue. So public hearings not necessarily given, so I'm going to try and convince you otherwise. We charge Hospice House $27,000 an acre. And then we also sold a $230,000 building for $35. Appraised value is not assessed value. I think this ground is worth more than what we're asking for it. I don't think the DOT is a licensed assessor. I think if we're going to sell property for assessed value, we should have a licensed assessor assess the true and actual value. Thank you.
Anyone else in the public wish to address this? Let's call the roll.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
No.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Bodyhoff,
Yes.
That carried as well. On to resolution number 8.
resolution setting public hearings for the conveyance and transfer of title of 5.7 acres of land to the Fisher Governor Foundation.
Move for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Discussion up here. Mr. Thompson, I think you pulled this one too.
Again, same reason. So a member of the public would like to make some comments concerning this.
Anybody up here like to make any comments first? Yes.
Just as a point of clarification, there was an appraisal done by the DOT, provided by Commercial Appraisers of Iowa out of West Des Moines, specifically Patrick J. Schulte of that company.
Thank you. Floor is open for the public comment.
Mark Eaton, 1007 South 10th Avenue. Thank you, Jessica, for that clarification.
Anybody else like to speak out in the public? Roll call.
Thompson,
No.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Bodyhoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
That carried as well. On to number 11.
resolution approving the purchase of 4 North 12th Avenue, Marshalltown, Iowa.
Move for approval.
Thank you. Our second.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson.
I just have a question before it's open to the public. I take it this owner was not insured?
That's correct. I provided that information in the memo that is attached.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Other discussion up here? Discussion out there?
Mark Eaton, 1007 South 10th Avenue. I don't know why we're paying for this when we have a budget shortfall. The other people have been forced to give their properties that are damaged due to unforeseen circumstances to the city, such as the one on 6th Street that I purchased after the tornado. Also, you're paying this gentleman $2,000. He's in assisted living, and he's probably on Title 19, and $2,000 is the maximum amount he can have. So if he has any money in the bank and you give him $2,000, you could put him in a self-pay situation. I don't really think it's good to be spending this money on this property. Thank you.
Anybody else in the public wish to approach the mic? Roll call.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff.
Yes.
That carried as well. On to number 16.
Resolution to approve the state recreation trail application for the Iowa River's Edge Trail.
Any motion?
So moved, Your Honor.
Any second?
Second.
Discussion up here. Mr. Thompson.
Your Honor, once again, I was asked to pull this off for the public. Thank you.
Any other discussion up here?
I'd just like to say something.
You may.
Definitely think we should approve this. This is grants we've applied for in the past. We've won. This will help get the trail built.
Thank you. Mic is open for the public.
Mark Eaton, 1007 South 10th Avenue. Mr. Schneider's the president of Trails Inc., so of course we should approve it. There's a 28E agreement between the city of Marshalltown and Trails Inc. This grant requires a matching fund. The 28E agreement says we shouldn't give taxpayer money to Trails Inc. Additionally, in January, I requested a copy of the minutes from the December 27th meeting and board list of board members, and that request has been denied by Mr. Schneider, the president of Trails Inc. According to the 28E agreement, the board of directors is, by that agreement, a governmental body for the purposes of Chapter 21 and 22 of public records. So I should not be denied that information as a public entity. I do not think we should give this money to Trails Inc. They're not acting in good faith.
Is there anybody else from the public that would like to discuss this?
My name is Linda Clark. Can everyone hear me okay? 306 South 2nd Avenue. I would reiterate what Mr. Eaton just stated. We have debt in this city, and I feel there's a conflict of interest here. There are many persons that do not even use the trails, and I would like to see our money, like I have said before, keep a tight rein on it. We are in a deficit in this city, and we all are suffering from all the high costs of everything, food, everything. Thank you all for your time. I say no to this.
Anyone else in the public wish to comment? Okay, well, I can't help myself. Two comments. One, there is no conflict of interest. Nobody has any financial gain from that. It sits up here that makes a vote, so you're wrong about that. And the 2080 agreement that I had a part in handling when I was the president of Trails Inc. did not obligate the city to donate any money, but it did not prevent the city from doing it. So it doesn't say that the city should not make any contributions. So I'd like to clear up those two things on the record. Let's call the roll.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
No.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson.
No.
That carried us all on to motions. First one under F is what?
Motion to approve the Class B beer permit with Class C native wine permit, outdoor service and Sunday sales for the Central Iowa Fairgrounds.
Floor is open for a motion.
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion.
Yes, Your Honor. There was a lap in their renewal application, so that's why this license is a new application. They will be having the same outdoor service area to include the courtyard, covered arena, outdoor arena, and the east grass area. The fire marshal has completed an inspection, and they are in compliance.
Very good. Consul, discussion or questions? Public discussion or questions? Roll call.
Lottie
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
No.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
That carried. Zipping along to item G, resolutions. The first one is what?
Resolution appointing Lynch Dallas PC as city attorney for the city of Marshalltown effective July 1st, 2022, and approving a contract for legal services.
Is there a motion to approve it?
So moved, Your Honor.
Any second?
Second.
Discussion.
Yes, Your Honor. Tonight we have before you a contract to go into effect July 1, 2022, with a 90-day termination clause, so no end date in it, to appoint Lynch Dallas PC as the city attorney, effective for July 1st of 2022 for all legal services that wouldn't be covered under an existing contract, such as bonding is with Dorsey and Whitney, same with urban renewal stuff. Human resources is with Ehlers and Cooney. And so we do have Steve Leidinger from Lynch Dallas here tonight, if you have any questions specifically for him. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
Any council comments or questions?
Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
Jessica, can you tell the public what the hourly rate would be if they attend during the meetings electronically, and what their rate would be if we require them to be in person, which we're going to discuss later?
Correct.
So I just want to, because the whole idea of this was to save money.
Correct.
This was our first attempt to cost save on the budget.
Correct. So $165 per hour to attend a meeting. If they're coming here in person, we're paying for travel time as well as mileage as well as part of that. And so that's where that discussion comes up about attending virtually as well. So that is what we're looking at. There is a price difference there between virtual or in-person attendance. There will be times where the city attorney does need to attend in person for closed sessions and different things like that. So there will be times where that's a different scenario.
Thank you. And if, for closed sessions, if they have to be here for a closed session, are they on the clock the minute they leave Cedar Rapids?
Yes,
And the rate for driving down Highway 30 is $165 an hour?
correct. Or it's half of that. I apologize. It's travel time is half of the hourly rate.
Okay. So the half cost is them to get here. The clock at $165 an hour starts at 5:30 when the meeting starts, and then half for them to drive back.
Mm-hmm.
And electronically, it would just be for the meeting at $165 an hour.
That's correct.
All right. And then closed sessions, we'd pay for the whole meeting,
Yes, and so I think.
because they'd have to be here waiting for that to start.
Yes, and ultimately, that is where, based on the content of the closed session, we would leave it up to the attorney to determine if they needed to be here in person or could be remote for that, as each closed session is going to be different.
And were these rates what we thought they would be when we terminated the agreement with Mr. Shell?
I was going to say yes and no. The travel piece was one. It doesn't take much to look around and see that we have some gas prices, which are probably driving that a little bit more than what has been. So yeah, I would say they are what we expected. They're what Steve and I had talked about, and they're what I had been driving some comparables with in the budget process too. So ultimately, it's hard to do a total comparison of hour by hour. Council meetings are truly the only time where you could drive that equation, and we will be paying more per council meeting on an hourly basis. But truly, it's based on what is the work that we're asking attorney to do, what are those questions that are going there on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and then who is actually doing that work. Part of the contract is that there are different rates for paralegals and associates. Steve is a partner, I believe. And so his is the highest rate. He is who we would be interfacing with most of the time, but he refers work out to those below him and the paralegal and the associate status as well, which are a different rate, a lesser rate.
And then my last question, thank you for that explanation. We would have Steve here at the meetings, or would that be farmed out to somebody else in the firm?
That would be Steve. I'll let you speak to that if you would like to.
Sure. Yeah, unless there was a coverage issue, we like you to have continuity in the person working with you. most of the time being the individual who's here with the context to spot the issues and whatnot. On occasion, just because we do represent other cities, there might be a time where I'm called into a special session somewhere else on a litigation issue where only I can go, whereas, someone attending the meeting just to get you through the regular routine meeting could easily sub in, whereas I would be indispensable in that litigated matter. But by and large, you could expect to see me either virtually and in person. The only other issue is, a vacation or something. We would obviously need to accommodate that. But as Jessica indicated, we have different producers at different rates. My associate Dan Morgan, for instance, has been working with police chief quite a bit, doing police type issues. And as far as the way we use paralegals, we try to push work down to the lowest possible level, to the extent feasible, while also moving things. So if an assignment comes through me, I'm the gatekeeper or quarterback and get it to the right person to answer the question. I will admit I'm not always that person. If you get a open meetings or open records question, for example, one of my partners is very, very well versed in that, and she can do that more efficiently than I can. So I try to get the assignment to the right person to get it done most effectively and most quickly for you all.
And Steve, I have seen one of your billing statements that has come to the city, and I do appreciate the fact that you can tell by the billing statement that work is being delegated to lower levels if they're capable of handling that. And it's a lower level for you, a lower rate for us. So I do appreciate that.
And we do quite a bit of nuisance work with all your natural disasters, helping to clean that up. And we have I've got 2 paralegals who I work with who are locked into that municipal infraction 657A system. So it really is a team effort, and we try to keep things moving for you as efficiently as possible.
And then, Jessica, we will review this after 6 months or a year to see if your projections are on track?
Yeah, I mean, we'll review this basically as we come into the budget process. I mean, as we're sitting in November, December, forecasting out where we think things will end. Yeah, we'll be reviewing that. I think probably one of the things would be for the council to decide if there is a point in time where you want to do like, I don't know if you'd want to call it a formal review, but if there's any input you would want to provide at a certain time, or if you just want to provide input as we go. I think that's something that Lynch Dallas and Steve are open to hearing what works best for you as they're working ultimately for the council.
All right. Thank you, Jessica. Thanks, Steve. Your Honor, thank you.
You bet. Anybody else up here have a comment? Any public comment on this one?
Yes, Linda Clark, 306 South 2nd Avenue. This position is for city attorney. We have a number of attorneys in the city locally. I really question whether we really need to go out of the city to get someone to represent us. I don't seem to, and Mr. Mayor or anyone else can correct me, I don't recall ever having a city attorney that did not live in the city. If I'm wrong, someone can please correct me. But I would like to keep our business here in the city. I think we have qualified people right here in the city. Thank you all for your time.
Anyone else from the public? Roll call.
Vladdyhoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
No.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell.
Yes.
That carried as well. On to resolution, the second resolution.
Resolution awarding the bid for the demolition of 24 North 1st Avenue to Lansing Brothers Construction, Inc. for a cost of $58,150.
Move for approval. Second.
Discussion?
Yes, I put the bid tab in the resolution, but wanted to just point out we only had 2 bidders for this. Construct was the second one. They came in much over where Lansing was. This is for 24 North First Avenue. This will be down hopefully by August 15th. That's the date that we've put there. And then the plan is to basically concrete over this to help provide accessibility into the city center parking lot. If we can add parking spaces, we'll certainly do that, but right now that is not in the cards.
This is the building that was the bakery and just north of Vaughn's Pub.
Correct.
Thanks. Okay. Any questions or comments by the council? By the public? Roll call.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Bodyhoff,
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Carried on to the third resolution.
Resolution ordering construction of the Elks Park Improvement Project, PRK 21002, setting public hearing on proposed plan specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost, and directing publication of notice to bidders.
Move for approval. Second.
Very good. Before I call for discussion about this one, Mr. Leitner, we enjoy having you here, but unless you have a good reason to stay here, you're welcome to go home. We do have a discussion. Oh, sorry, you don't get an early recess today.
I'm here in large part for me today, so
Okay.
you're not paying for me to be here today, so don't worry about it.
I wasn't worried about paying. I'm just
I'm going to talk for 20 minutes then.
a lot of people come at the beginning of the meeting and they feel like they're being rude when they leave, and so I didn't want to. 3 minutes? Okay. Discussion.
Under 3. Jeff Hubbard, Park and Rec Director. As you know, we started this project a year ago, and we met with the neighborhood of Elks Park. Had about over 20 people come, talked about what they would like to see in the park as new amenities. The top amenities that they wanted to see improved were the basketball court, the small children's play area on the east side of the park, and then leveling out the center of the field to kind of create more of a bigger soccer space that didn't slope away. And then with all of our master plan projects, we're looking at accessibility, lighting, and keeping consistent with the signage. So those are elements that threw in there. We did some preliminary work at numbers, and our $110,000 budget didn't quite cover all those improvements we wanted to make. So we did work with Regency 6 and applied for a CDBG grant, and were awarded $61,200 towards the project. So that grant covers it only covers like the accessibility and the getting people into the park, so it didn't cover the basketball court or the playground. So we're kind of not handling that part of the project with this scope of the work. This scope will address the leveling out of the center of the park, the sidewalk, and the lighting portions of it. So the total amount that we've estimated for that project is $92,851. So we'll be using $61,200 of the grant money and $31,651 of our CIP fund. Any questions?
Questions or comments by the council?
Your Honor. Jeff, start and stop dates?
They will start working, so this will get bid in July, and the work will be substantially completed. I believe it said in here, October 15th.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks, Your Honor.
Any other council comments or questions? Public comment? Roll call.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Bodyhoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Very good. That carried as well. It's at the end of our block, actually, so we've kind of grown up with the girls going down to that park. And I think Mr. Isom may have a daughter that will avail herself of that park once it gets reconfigured too. By the way, I need to talk to you after the meeting, so don't bolt yet, okay? I got something in the car. Next resolution.
Resolution approving a grant agreement with the Mobius Group for interior wall repairs at 22 North First Avenue.
Is there a motion to approve it?
So moved, Your Honor. Second.
Discussion.
Yes, so this will be the first of three agreements that will be coming forward. You just approved the demolition of 24 North First Avenue. And this is one of those things that's been kind of hanging out there for a while, but we are actually ready to move forward on a few of these. You'll recall the city did commit to a $500,000 loan from the Iowa Economic Development Authority. That is a nuisance abatement type loan. The purpose of the loan was to help support the repair of the shared walls in downtown as those buildings come down. There are three projects that we have funded so far, and they're actually now all three complete as of today, or close to complete. We haven't made complete payments on them, though, so that still has to remain. So it's these bottom three that I would like to direct your attention to, as you also took action on the temporary easements for 14 West Main and 105 West Main for those demolitions. So with this one, we were talking specifically about the Mobius Group, 22 North First Avenue. They own the property, and the quote that they have signed and the agreement that they have signed with Diorio Masonry is for $48,400, and so the grant agreement is attached. I will say I did get word late last week that it sounds like the price of EFIS is going up, so I don't expect that there will be $106,000 that we will not have spent or drawn down remaining by the time I do get something from McGregor's or from Stepping Stones. So I just want to make that clear. But this one is $48,400, and we are good to go on that one.
And we're basically going to be looking at walls similar to the one on the optical shop.
Yeah, this is going to be EFIS, correct?
Okay, questions or comments up here? Public comment or questions? Roll call.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
That carried as well. On to the next resolution, please.
Resolution establishing a compost fee.
Is there a motion to approve it?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Yes, Your Honor. After the last meeting that we had, I kind of thought that we had it all straightened out, and it seems like we're coming full circle on this, where we were going to be being able to benefit everyone in the community yet, and it seems like we're coming full circle on this to the point to where I can see either pushing this back or just returning back to the system that we had. That's my comments right now.
Anyone else up here?
Your Honor,
Yes.
so based off of the fact that there's investigation required and to what Mike had already shared, I would move to table this item.
Okay. There is a motion to table on the floor, and now I have to look up to see if that requires a second, which I assume it does.
It does require a second, but could I please request that there is a date certain provided with that?
What date would you like? To date certain to untable it?
A date when it would come back on the agenda, basically, yes.
The first council meeting in July?
Okay. With that understanding on the motion, is there a second to that motion?
I'd second that motion.
And then I think this one's non-debatable. I may have to brush up on my Robert's Rules of Order. It is not debatable, so let's go ahead and call the roll.
Thompson,
No.
Walker,
No.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Okay, it is tabled. Very good. On to the last one of these resolutions, number 6.
Public hearing and resolution approving the Iowa State Revolving Fund Environmental Information Document.
Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved, Your Honor.
Oh, it's a public hearing. That means I have to look at my cheat sheet and say I declare the public hearing is open now at 6:10 p.m. Did you receive any comments, written comments in the clerk's office.
No, Your Honor.
It is first time for public comment. Anybody in the public wish to rush to the mic on this one? Not seeing anybody standing. Let's go to staff review. Heather.
Good evening, Heather Thomas, Public Works. In front of you is an environmental information document. What this is, it's a review of environmental impacts to a project that we have upcoming at our Water Pollution Control Center related to the Headworks and Digester project. This project is being funded through the SRF loan process, which requires an extra step of environmental review to identify those impacts to environmental things like archaeology, historical, wetlands, threatened and endangered species. Iowa DNR completed that and then composed all of that into this EID document, and they are recommending no significant impact. So with that, we recommend approval of this document and the project can proceed, saying that we are not negatively impacting the environment with the project. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And it is now time for council comments or questions. Else, I will declare the public hearing is closed and call for a motion. And so the public hearing is closed at 6:12 p.m.
I'd make the motion, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is there a second?
There actually is no motion or second that is required on this.
No. You'd think I'd get this stuff by now. Wow. Okay. Well, public hearing is officially closed. Let's go on to ordinances. Number 1.
Ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, City of Marshalltown, Iowa, repealing Chapter 58 Vegetation and enacting and adopting a new Chapter 58 Vegetation, third reading.
Floor is open for a motion to approve that ordinance.
I'll make the motion, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Second.
For a second.
Your Honor, if I may?
If it's a second, you may.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. Okay. We now have a motion and a second, and now it is time for discussion.
I'm sorry, I thought you heard Dex, sorry.
No, I'm losing my hearing too.
I would just like to tell the people in the public that those of you that came to discuss the compost facility fee, you actually have an opportunity to make your comments known to us under this ordinance, because this ordinance is what establishes a utility fee for the compost facility. So since we tabled that previous resolution, you lost your opportunity to speak. You now have an opportunity to speak once the councilors have all made their comments. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Any other council comments? Okay. Floor is open for public comment.
Thank you. Hopefully you can hear me okay. But anyway, my name is Doris Kinnick. I live at 2020 Catalina Place here in Marshalltown. I'm here tonight about the compost fee, AKA tax, being added to the water bill at $1.50 a month. Now, considering the fact that our water bills aren't given out every month, that's a problem. That's a problem. This is something that is not needed. It's a want. And you might remember me, I was here a couple months ago, and I quoted my dad, God rest his soul, where he said there's a difference between wants and needs. And this compost fee is a want. It's not a need. You have a user fee. I suggest you keep it that way. I have read inflation is at 8.7%, and it's not going to be coming down. People cannot afford any more taxes or any more fees added on. The price of gas, I'm sure it affects every single person here. A family of 4 just is barely making it now. Why add that burden? The compost pile, or the compost, okay? I mean, it's sort of like the aquatic center. Would you expect every person in Marshalltown to have a user fee to go to the aquatic center, even though you don't swim? Same thing with the compost pile. If you use the compost pile, then you pay for it. It's that simple. So the user fee, figure out amount for that. And now if you're a professional or, a tree service or something like that, maybe a different fee can be figured out for those guys. But you and me, I can count on one hand how many times I've used that compost center. Once. That was it. I don't have any trees anymore. The derecho took care of that. So I'm really big into using things over and over again. And if you're going to have a compost, you should be able to use it again, right? People should be able to go out there and get the shredding and use it in their landscape, use it in their gardens, which hopefully everyone is getting or expanding or thinking about doing. Because again, it's not going to get any better, folks. It's going to get worse. Use it for your garden or landscaping. So I recommend no increase in the water bill. Please, don't do that. Don't do that, please. Again, inflation, 8.7%, and that's probably on the low end. User fee based on how often the services are used. Stop spending money you don't have. Again, my dad, live within your means, and a difference between wants and needs. And remember, you represent your constituents. Every one of you, not outsiders. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment? Roll call.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff,
No.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
No.
Very good. That carried. On to the next one.
Ordinance 15043 to amend the Code of Ordinances, City of Marshalltown, Iowa by repealing Code Section 90.036, dogs at public events, third reading.
Move for approval, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes, Your Honor, just as a reminder, this is amendment that appeals the code section that prohibits dogs from attending public events and leaves it up to the event organizer to put that rule in place and enforce it. The police department will still continue to enforce leash laws for animals.
Council comment? Public comment? Roll call.
Schneider,
No.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop, Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
That carried. On to the last ordinance.
Ordinance 15044 to amend the Code of Ordinances, City of Marshalltown, Iowa by amending Chapter 77, parking schedules, first reading.
Move for approval, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? Or I see under the list here we have the potential to waive second and third readings on this one as well, if anybody wants to make that motion as well.
Yeah, we'd like to approve the first reading before considering a motion to waive the second and third.
Sure. Okay. Discussion then.
Good evening, Heather Thomas, Public Works. I received a request to review parking and traffic lanes on East Southridge Road, just east of Highway 14. In that review, we have a section of 4-lane road, and we also had the ability to allow on-street parking outside the hours of 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. After reviewing with our street superintendent, we are recommending rescinding that and not allowing parking within a lane of a 4-lane road. So that was what stemmed this recommendation. While we're making the amendments to Chapter 77, we also did reach out to the schools and ask them if they had any adjustments related to school-specific zones. Those are also included in here. Those include Lenahan between the horseshoes, entrance and exits, no parking there. Marshalltown Christian School, that's South 7th Avenue from Henry Drive down to the school drive. Also update language from St. Henry School to St. Francis School. Remove St. Mary's School and add some additional permit parking at the request of the high school on East Ingledew. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions by the council or comments? Public comment? Roll call.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell.
Yes.
Thank you. And then is there a motion to waive?
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to waive the second and third readings.
Thank you.
Second.
Roll call.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom.
Yes.
Very good. Carried as well. On to discussion items, the first of which is the Animal Rescue League contract. Floor is open.
Yes, I'll introduce Rachel Buchanan, who is the Executive Director of the Animal Rescue League, and I know she has some board members here with her tonight. She did provide some information, which is at each of your seats to follow along with.
Hello, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. 7 years ago, when the current city contract was signed with the Animal Rescue League, the city of Marshalltown agreed to pay the Animal Rescue League $48,000 per year to assist the Marshalltown Police Department and in animal control services and act as the city pound. As of today, the ARL is being paid $52,000, which is only an 8% increase from 2015, when inflation from 2015 till now has been over 23%. City Ordinance 90.025, which talks about contracting a facility to care and house animals as the pound, states that, quote, payments may be made to such society by the city as may be necessary to defray the actual cost incurred by the society in connection with its work under such contract. In 2021, the Animal Rescue League spent $74,000 on stray and seized animals alone. These costs are incurred during a cat or dog's stray hold and do not include any additional costs incurred during the remainder of their time at the ARL. A breakdown of these expenditures is included in the following pages. In addition to the $22,000 gap in costs for those animals, the Animal Rescue League has a $75,000 gap in our overall profit and loss. Despite our efforts at mitigating those expenses, which include fundraising, foster and volunteer programs, applying for grants, reducing costs at every turn, we cannot keep up with the ever-mounting costs of operations under the current terms of the city contract. The contract states that we must take in all stray, domesticated cats and dogs found within city limits, and this often forces us beyond our capacity for care. In 2021, the ARL took in over 1,200 animals, with the highest intake numbers under the current contract being over 1,700 animals in 2018. The Animal Rescue League of Marshalltown is formally requesting an increase in monetary compensation to fulfill the contract set forth by the city of Marshalltown. We are requesting an additional $30,000 on top of the agreed-upon amount in the contract for 2022 to cover expenses for the stray and seized animals of Marshalltown. We are also requesting that the contract be amended for the fiscal year of 2023 and onward to reflect the increase in expenses. Our goal is to improve and even increase services to the city to better help the citizens of Marshalltown and their pets. We've already formed a better working relationship with Chief Tupper and the Marshalltown Police Department. These goals are not feasible and the contract not sustainable under the current financial restrictions.
Thank you. Consul comments or questions first?
Jessica, where does the funding come from now, the $58,000?
52,000 is where we're at currently, and that comes from the general fund. There is a special line item, special category for animal control that just has one line item, and it is the Animal Rescue League contract.
Other council comments or questions?
I got a question, Your Honor.
You bet.
Can you define what a seized animal means?
Yes. So the numbers that I compiled were based on stray and seized animal. A stray is an animal that was brought to us by a member of the public. A seized animal is an animal that we were requested to pick up per the Marshalltown Police Department.
How many seized animals do you have per year?
I have numbers for 2021. That second page that Jessica provided, last year there were 789 stray or seized animals.
Then I'm asking that question specifically is more along the lines of whose responsibility it is to pay you. Obviously, if there's an animal roaming the street that we're concerned about, doesn't have tags, doesn't have ownership, I understand we take the bill, but if it's a seized animal because the police department determines that it's unsafe to the public or not being cared for. It would be interesting to know what that breakout is, because I don't think the burden should lie on the city.
Seized doesn't sorry to interrupt. Seized is just that they called us out to pick up an animal, not necessarily that it was a vicious animal. Sometimes it's just an officer that can't bring the animal to us, so we will meet them out in town.
Seized meaning that it was found by an officer and is being held waiting for placement.
Anytime that we're called out by the police department is a seized animal, regardless of the reason why.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
My question is just the opposite. So it says a stray is any domesticated animal is brought out by either a member of the public or the police department. So if my neighbor's cat walks into my yard, I bring it out to you, and the bill goes to the city? Who wrote that contract?
Well, it's not necessarily a contract issue, it's a Code of Iowa issue, that basically the city has a legal requirement to house stray cats and stray dogs for a limited period of time, which is what we're paying them to do. And so it's a Code of Iowa issue, not a contract issue.
Is there a fee if my dog were to run away and get picked up by you guys, and if I came to pick her up, would there be a fee to me? And how much is that?
It depends on length of time that the dog is with us, if a staff member was called out after hours, and if the dog was up to date on vaccinations. So it varies.
And what percentage of those do you actually collect on?
I would say, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think our return to owner rate is something along the lines of 40% for dogs and like 2% for cats.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Is the request for a one-time adjustment and then revert back to our existing contract, or is this a change in the overall contract?
Change in the overall contract.
Your Honor. And what would be the timeline of the contract? Is this going to be on an annual basis, a 3-year term, a 5-year term? What was the previous contract from a timeline perspective?
The previous contract was basically open-ended, only provided essentially 2 fiscal years that the payments were there, and then provided a 4% escalator. I think that's something we would like to continue to work with the Animal Rescue League on the long term, but this was one where obviously the review of the rates wasn't keeping up with the actual cost for housing the animals that the city is required to house. And so I think we would want to probably do something that would have either an escalator or an annual review, probably in the December timeframe, so we're able to incorporate any changes for the next fiscal year. But the staff is supportive that we increase the contract to $80,000 starting July 1 of 2022, and that we make that move at that point, and then bring forward whatever works best in terms of discussions between staff and if any council would want to be involved, and the Animal Rescue League board to figure out what works best.
Jessica, how do you propose we would pay for that? And then 2, do we know what other similar sized cities pay for this?
Yes, so that was work that Chief Tupper did. I can tell you from Clinton it was $110,000 a year to the Clinton Humane Society. I think there were quite a few other cities, Newton, as well as, I'm losing, Chief Tupper should probably speak to this one, but this is a comparable price for the types of services we're receiving with our comparable cities.
Mike Tupper, Marshalltown Police Department. So first thing I want to say is Rachel's been great to work with. She's doing a great job. They're providing an important service that we have to have. The animal numbers, 700 and some animals that she talked about. The gorilla in the room is that these are cats. Cats are our biggest problem, but for us in the police department, it's the dog issue. When we have a dog at large and there's neighbors complaining, we got to do something about it. Or we have a vicious animal, we got to do something about it. So I did contact similar sized communities. I contacted a lot of communities in Iowa about what they're paying, and what I found is that even with the increase, we're getting off light, quite frankly. So I recommend that we support this contract increase.
I have a question.
Go for it.
Jessica, is this something that could be paid for with local option sales tax?
Yes, you could choose to fund this with the council designated local option sales tax if you would so choose.
Your Honor?
Yeah.
A couple of questions for you, young lady. Thank you, by the way. In Councilman Schneider's scenario, when he comes to pick up his wayward dog, do you force him to pay back to the day you got these fees? Are they adjusted for how long you've held it? And then do you reimburse the city rather than double dipping?
No. So the city is not reimbursed for any owner's return or owner reclaim fees that we get.
Okay, so that's 40% on the dogs. The city's paid you to keep it, and then he pays a fee to release his dog. Okay. And then the other question is, by Iowa code, Jessica, do we have to partner with the ARL, or can we put this out for bid? Is there any private entities or local vet offices that would like to grab some money from the city?
So you were correct. We don't have to contract with the Animal Rescue League, but we are recommending that we do this. There is a service in State Center, a shelter service. However, as we looked at that internally, just the cost to the citizens of Marshalltown and to the police department to get animals out there was going to be anything more than what they are requesting at this point in time. And so you certainly could put it out to bid, but as staff, we are not recommending it.
I suppose nobody looked into Pheasants Forever and Ducks Unlimited. Sorry, can't help myself.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Chief Tupper, don't you have 2 dog kennels in the Sallyport?
We do, but yeah, we're not going to use those for stray animals. That's not their intended purpose. All right.
So, Jessica, as far as paying for this, following up on what Mike said, would staff propose we use Lost to do this, and then when we renegotiate the contract, that would come out of the general fund? Or I don't think I really got an answer on how we propose to pay for this.
I would propose that we keep this in the general fund because that is where it is existing currently. If you would want to, as a council, switch it to Lost, you would need to approve a resolution for that. But I would recommend keeping the entire cost together. And so we would be looking to probably negotiate a new contract to come forward to the June 27th meeting so that we would have something in place by July 1st. But if you would like it to come out of Lost, we would want to know that probably at this point in time so that we could ensure that the appropriate resolution was on the June 27th meeting.
Your Honor, I think
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to, as recommended by staff, I think it was $80,000 out of the general fund, and have a motion ready for the June 27th meeting.
Was it 80,000? I'm sorry.
Yes, the request was for $80,000 total.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Very good. Any further discussion up here? Otherwise, I'll turn this one over to the public as well.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I just would like to highlight something that I think Gary shared that I would maybe appreciate being evaluated, which is for those owners that have a dog go there, that the city isn't picking up any portion of it, and that they're taking full burdenship of the costs associated with not keeping an eye on their animals. So I think that addresses that issue and removes a portion of the burden on the city from a cost perspective. So I would recommend that, I guess, moving forward if and when possible.
Other discussion up here? Otherwise, the mic is open to the public.
Yes, Linda Clark, 306 South 2nd Avenue. I recall many years ago how the Animal Rescue League drove the vehicles in and kind of went around the streets and do that. I was having issue with many cats that had been turned loose and left at large, and when I called the Animal Rescue League, I was told the police were the only ones that could remove them from private property. I have seen posts on social media where we have an organization called Trap, Neuter, Return that has been involved with going and trapping cats, cleaning up hoarding situations and like that. I think the comment that was made by the councilman was very good. That was the way it was always done before. If you went to pick up an animal that had been picked up and taken to the league, the owner of that had to pay to get the return of the animal. I don't feel that the burden needs to go on all of us. We are unique. We do have a cat population problem. I don't know exactly what the answer is going to be on that. But I think funding-wise, I know the league is doing many fundraisers, raising money, and I heard the term double dipping and like that. I kind of question some of this too as well. We all need money. We're all short of money. I do not have any pets that will get at large at my property, and I'm not going to purchase any. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Other public comment?
Your Honor, I have one more question.
You may ask it.
If you were to charge the full amount of the trap and everything like that, how many dog owners or cat owners would actually come out to get their animal? Quite a few less?
Only the good owners.
Yes, we do try and keep the cost to the owner as minimal as possible. So when we get in a stray animal, we charge, if a staff member went out after hours, we charge handling, we charge pickup if we were called out to the scene, we charge $15 a day for boarding, and then we charge $20 for a distemper vaccination and $25 for a rabies. So most owners will pay that when they reclaim their animals, and we don't necessarily have issues with people not wanting to pay. Every once in a while we have issues with people not being able to pay. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Your Honor, one more question, please.
Sure.
You say a staff member going out after hours. I don't understand why a staff member would have to go out after hours.
We are contracted to do so.
You mean go out to the ARL and meet the police there?
No. We have a staff member on call outside of business hours to respond to any calls from the police department to pick up animals. And we have somebody on call every night and every weekend. And
So you go to the police department and pick them up?
not always. We usually meet them on scene.
Thank you.
Sometimes the police officers make the decision because it's more time efficient for them and they can safely do so. They take the animal to the ARL themselves. Sometimes for a variety of reasons, they're unable to do that, and we have to have the ability to call ARL out after hours to help us with those situations. It may be a staffing issue. It just may be an issue where we just need some help. So I can't, it was probably 3 or 4 years ago now that we started transporting more of the animals ourselves to the ARL because it just saves us time as opposed to waiting for them to come out after hours. But we still need that ability to be able to call in for help because there's sometimes that we just can't send somebody out to the ARL.
Other comments, questions up here or out in the public? Let's call the roll.
Walker.
Sure, I'm sorry.
There's a motion on the table to approve.
The motion is to approve the $80,000 contract.
No.
Hoop.
Yes.
Isom.
Yes.
Kell.
Yes.
Lottiehoff.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Thompson.
No.
Very good. That carried. Staff has direction. Now that that's been voted, I have to say I've had the personal experience of having a feral cat get in a well at our office, and we got an immediate response from Animal Rescue League. They didn't have the ability to climb down into it to get the cat. And so the police came. They did a really nice job of getting it and taking care of the cat. I did see that the person who's been in charge of that feral cat program is having to retire for health reasons, so I kind of worry about that. And then I had the experience of the Animal Rescue League did absolutely nothing wrong. They were sued because there was a stray animal. It probably did have vicious propensities. It was picked up. It was taken out there. It was kept for all of about 2 hours, picked up by a relative or family member or significant other of the owner, who took it back to a personal residence and it bit somebody's nose off. And so they got sued for that. And they handled the whole thing totally professionally. I was the defense attorney that was hired. It cost them nothing. Well, they had insurance that would pay me to get the case dismissed, which it was. Chief Tupper was one of the witnesses in the case that got it dismissed. There was a totally professional operation. And so for the fundraisers they have in this community, I hope people continue to help out. I know they're looking for more what are they called? Air purifiers too. There's a push to get those out there in this COVID year. So if you have any extra air purifiers, please consider a contribution to ARL. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go on to the next discussion, which is the franchise fee.
Yes, so I'd like to be very clear. This is not necessarily a debate on the merits of a franchise fee, because it is a very, very complex topic that we do not have the time in a regular council meeting to cover fully, what it could be used for, what it is, and what that would mean to the city's finances, to the general fund, as well as to streets, property tax relief, and other areas. So what I would like to propose and to get your feedback on at this point is a work session to take place in August that would be basically an afternoon dedicated to talking about this. I wanted to get this in front of you as soon as possible because we have had a number of budgetary changes coming along the way that are things where, in my mind, they're all recommended. They're things that we need to be doing. And so as we start looking ahead to what is that budget that starts July 1 of 2023, I would like to have direction as soon as possible in the fiscal year as to whether or not the franchise fee is something we would move forward with, or are we then pivoting and talking about, you know, more in depth with all of you of what is truly in the general fund, what does that include, and what areas are your priority areas, so that we can formulate a plan to bring back as part of the budget process that would start in that December, January timeframe for enactment on July 1st of 2023. And so that's the request that's before you tonight. I'm happy to answer any basic questions, but I did not prepare kind of a large presentation on all of the uses or anything at this point.
Okay. Reaction up here?
I'd be interested in having that discussion.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Based off the number of cities, a lot of cities with growth through Iowa and otherwise that have demonstrated their implementation of this, and otherwise I would agree with Jeff that I think a discussion is more than worthwhile.
I think it's worthy of discussion.
What would be the process for scheduling this?
So I am planning to use Susan Parker to facilitate this discussion, as well as then working with each department on the various uses and how that applies to either growing operations or supporting operations that currently exist. And so there is a week in August that I've been looking at with Susan, and so I would look to formalize that with her, and then either do a doodle poll or email out some dates to get your feedback, and hopefully we can find an afternoon that will work for everybody to attend. Afternoon or morning, I should say, but really looking at probably this being a 3 to 4 hour conversation, because it is truly that big of a topic at this point.
I would request Tuesday or Thursday.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hoop.
Any other input?
I'd like to do afternoons in case we run long.
Noted.
If you need me there, Thursday works better than Tuesday.
Do actually want our schedule, or can we give that to you afterwards?
I will reach out to Susan and just make sure that we've got something that will hopefully work on a Tuesday or a Thursday in the afternoon.
Okay, I won't elaborate then.
We can talk after, because I'm sure you've got some
Hey, it wasn't
travels.
Wednesday afternoon.
So that's all the direction that I'm looking at this point, and then I'll be in touch by email or phone with more information about potential dates that could work. So thank you.
Okay, thanks. On to the next one. City council attendance at council meetings.
Yes, this was something that we had discussed in the budgetary process about working with Lynch Dallas. In talking with Steve, and I'll let Steve talk for himself too. Steve has requested that he would be able to attend virtually for most of the meetings. He has said that not attending and then just sort of being on call, he misses the context of everything, as well as sort of the larger context of what is happening with discussion around items and what is being approved or not. And so I think as we look through ordinances and other policies like the council manual was the only thing that came up with the area that says the city attorney or designee shall attend all meetings of the council unless excused. And we just want to be very clear on an understanding of what the city council would like in terms of meeting attendance, and does is virtually considered attendance per you? Does that fit the definition of what is currently in the council manual? And basically just open it up for what it is that you all would prefer.
Okay, floor is open for discussion.
I guess I'll go first, Your Honor.
Go for it.
I have no objection to virtual attendance unless there's a necessity for in-person or more fruitful conversation or actions probably warranted and probably made aware of from a council perspective. So I don't have any objection to the, I guess, proposed offer.
In addition to agreeing what Councilman Isom stated, I would rather us be aggressive on avoiding in person unless absolutely necessary and truly beneficial to the discussion given the cost.
And I need to weigh in as an attorney. There are three of us in the room right now. The Iowa Supreme Court Chief Justice entered an edict or ruling or whatever suggestion a few months ago that recommended, even before gas prices spiked, that any hearings that could be handled by phone or Zoom or that sort of go-to-meeting type of meeting take place. The judges down in Des Moines were known for setting hearings at 8 o'clock in the morning, so people from Esterville would have to get up at 2 o'clock and drive down there for a 15-minute conference or meeting hearing. And so our profession has gone that way, and the trends, most of the depositions I'm doing, whether they're experts or even plaintiffs now, are being done by Zoom. Nobody has to travel. Everybody can attend pretty well. And as the mics and cameras and ability to do these meetings has gotten more mature, that type of attendance has certainly worked well in our legal profession and kept our attorney fees down. So I just wanted to throw that much in as an attorney.
Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
So really what this comes down to is for approximately $412 twice a month, we can have Steve here in person. Or for $247, he can be home watching Monday Night Football and kind of paying attention to the meeting. So those are our two options.
Just to be clear, if I'm attending by Zoom or something else, I'm going to be fully watching and engaged. My comment when Jessica suggested the possibility of just basically being on call during that time and, in my office doing other work is I think it'd be very hard to transition from looking at I'm looking at something mind-numbing like cell tower regulations, and then I just get a call and I've got to switch my whole mindset, and then I've got to have you guys back up and fill me in on the context, and your meeting comes to a screeching halt. Whereas my typical course would be to start probably issue spotting as you're all contemplating the question, so that I kind of am working my way towards the answer before it's asked. I just think that would be a lot more efficient for the handling of your meetings than to back the truck up and have like a half-hour kind of, kind of replay thing where the whole football game stops and everybody, waits on the, to go view the screens and whatnot. So that was my only comment. I'm happy to do whatever pleases the council in that respect. I am very comfortable with Zoom. I'm happy to make the trip to be here personally if you all want to see me, but I'm comfortable with anything. So leave that decision to you.
Before you leave the mic too, I know from having looked into it years ago that the trend is to go to this, and so more cities our size and even smaller are going to the regional firms that are known for doing municipal work and county work, and there are other specialties that firms are getting into. I know the Allers firm is one, and they do an awful lot of the school district work around the state. Are other cities also availing themselves of this sort of thing for meetings like this?
Yes. Most that demand personal attendance are, I don't want to say stuck in their ways, but it's just kind of what they've always done. I don't think there's any need for it. The technology is there. We do it a lot. There's cities that have us almost exclusively participate that way. And as all of you are thinking, it is a cost saving. Otherwise, you're paying me so many cents a mile to reimburse me for fuel and half of my time. And from my perspective, without being selfish, that's 2.5 hours less that I'm committing to that evening away from my family. I can be home 5 minutes after I get off the Zoom with you guys, or I can take it in my home office. So I think it's something that works for everyone.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Just a question to build on what you said. The virtual versus the in-person, is that, who is going to determine the most appropriate course for that evening? Is that us reaching out to you, or do you provide some guidance?
I think if there were and in that case, we would probably be here as ICAP counsel, and they would be paying us to be here. If you have a litigated matter that's very complex, I might want to be here. With the inability to make decisions during closed sessions, it's very important that I be able to kind of read the room to kind of get a feeling of where people are. So in some of those cases, in person might be nice. And I might suggest that for a particular instance, in person would be preferred. You'd be the ones making that decision. But if we could work out an electronic means where I can see folks who are speaking to me.
If you push to talk, eventually there will be a camera on you, so you just have to use the system.
Okay, that would be very, very helpful. So,
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
I like the idea of the virtual for the meetings. I like the idea of you being here in person for all closed sessions, because we've done enough of those to where you're right, you need to read the room and keep us out of trouble in the closed sessions.
And if that were the policy the council decided on, I'd be happy to do that. Again, it's the council's preference here, and I'll accommodate anything from coming here every twice a month.
And personally, I'm comfortable with it being up to the mayor or the city administrator if during one of our regular meetings, if they think there's going to be a big issue on the agenda, the open, and they want you here, I'm okay with that. They know better, you know, the background of everything that's coming to us. As much as I want the counselors here in person, I'm okay with you being on Zoom, but not on the phone, but in Zoom where we can see you and you can see us. Thank you, Your Honor.
Welcome.
Your Honor, I agree with you, but I wouldn't say all closed sessions. Some that are simple purchases, real estate purchases, things like that, I don't think we would necessarily have to have them. The Zoom would be fine. But if we're talking any type of litigation or something that could possibly step into litigation, then yeah, make sure and have them here.
Other input up here? But
One thing further, are we clear to the both of you, or is this very ambiguous?
Oh, I feel like your direction is very clear, that if you're willing to say that our council manual and what it says, virtual attendance is considered attendance, that's the route that we will move forward. And then as closed sessions come up, Steve and I will talk about them on a case-by-case basis and confer with the mayor when we need to as well, based on the topic of that, to make a kind of a decision as to in-person versus virtual. And I would say that I would leave it open that if there's ever a concern about something, that should be council members telling me, we think he should be in person tonight versus virtual as well.
Your Honor, next council meeting, we have someone from Roger's office here then, or are we running with you as the parliamentarian?
Yeah, that is to be discussed and determined. So yeah, we'll have a conversation about that and decide whether or not we want to move forward. That would be under lower rates, so it would be cheaper to have Steve here for the next one than the first meeting in July. So just since you'd brought that up earlier.
speaking of rates, it's my understanding the going rate around here is about $195 an hour, even for a first or second year lawyer. And so the rates that we've been quoted are substantially less than that. I just thought I'd throw that in since I know what the going rate is around here.
So
you pay me $165. I'll go pick him up and bring him over here.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Just one point of clarification. When we talked about agenda items that one of the council members thinks that representation or in person would be appropriate, with when they get released and otherwise, is that enough advance notice, scheduling and otherwise, to be here the following Monday? I just want to ask a question.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be any issue. He's already going to have the time blocked out, so it's probably just making sure travel time is blocked out if needed.
I would say about the time the agenda comes out. Is that when do you put agenda?
Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, that would be, that amount of notice would be sufficient for me. Again, I have the time blocked off anyways. It's just, you know, personally, am I able to pick up my kids after school and drop them off to their mom when she gets home, or am I committing to being gone from 6 in the morning to 8:30 at night? So as long as I know ahead of time to coordinate, not a problem.
Yeah, even our small law firm that has been city counsel for smaller cities around here, we haven't had any trouble finding a substitute younger attorney to cover when one of the partners is in litigation or out of town. Okay.
Yep, we're good. We were just looking for direction on this to make sure that the rules that we have in place are still acceptable and no changes were needed. So thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Very good. Well, should we go on and talk about automated traffic enforcement as the last discussion item tonight?
Hello again, Mike Tupper, Marshalltown Police Department. So, this is the topics that's going to test how much goodwill I have in the community after 11 years. So, and I would just like to point out that we just had a really nice discussion about how we can use technology efficiently to coordinate services. So, yeah. So, there are many different, and you have a memo in your packet, so I'll try to keep this short, but there are many complex and difficult issues that you ask me to work on a daily basis in this community. And I have many public safety concerns that I have to work on, okay? And traffic enforcement and traffic safety is a huge public safety concern. But I'm also devoting resources to felony crimes and trying to keep our violent crime rate low and dealing with drug issues. And you've heard me say more than once, we are an understaffed police department. Even if I had 42 police officers, which I'm budgeted for, and we're about to be 4 people short of that on paper, I have work for 50 police officers easily in this community. Okay? Traffic enforcement, believe it or not, is the #1 complaint that I receive on a daily basis, and you probably do too. In fact, before the meeting started, the young lady in the back here came up to talk to me about a traffic issue in her neighborhood. And I hear about it 2 or 3 times a day. We're answering over 800 calls for service a week, and we just don't always have the people power to go out and enforce speeding violations. And I could give you a list tonight of probably 50 places that we need to do more speed enforcement, and we are doing our best. Our police officers are doing their best. They're working very hard to address all these issues, but we need help. So I either need 8 more police officers, or we look for an opportunity to use technology to our advantage and leverage that to help us address some quality of life issues, because if you have a speeding problem in your neighborhood, that's a quality of life issue, and it's an important safety issue. So my recommendation is that we put together a little working group, and we take a look at some vendors and some other communities that are using automated traffic enforcement to their advantage, and we have a discussion about how that might work in Marshalltown. And I'll be looking for 2 city council people to help us with that discussion and join us in that effort. Captain Chris Jones is very familiar with this topic because he actually presented to the city council. This is before my tenure, so it's going back probably 12, 13 years ago about this issue. But he has agreed to lead the charge for us because, as you know, I'm going to be taking some leave here for a few weeks. But we would like to study this issue and then come back the second meeting in July and have a bigger discussion about if this is a good idea for Marshalltown. And so I'll just leave it at that, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I will say probably, I don't know, send a handful of requests for the trailer to be set up in different areas and otherwise, and whether in the bike lane or crossing somewhere in the town from a trail perspective or otherwise, probably could count more than 2 hands of how many times I've almost been hit from somebody excessively speeding in an area and combined with not paying attention. So I think this is a valuable thing to evaluate, just from personal experience and also from the number of emails or phone calls I've gotten specific to this. So I would agree, probably one of the higher number requests I get from constituents and otherwise.
Go ahead.
Are you talking about a movable speed camera?
Yeah, I'm not really interested in stoplight cameras. I'm talking about speed enforcement, and I think mobile speed enforcement is what we need in this community. But we certainly could have a discussion about fixed speed enforcement if you identify some areas where it's necessary.
I'm normally kind of against this kind of thing, but I'm also tired of seeing people going 80 down a street. We're not talking 10 over. We're not talking 15 over. We're talking 30, 40 miles an hour at times. And, by schools, that type of thing. So I'm all in favor of this, and I'll volunteer as one of the council people.
Okay. And I'd just like to add that speeding is a national problem. It's not just a Marshalltown problem. And if you were a law enforcement geek like I am, you might be on some social media sites for the State Patrol and other places. And they're always talking about, stopping people for speeding at 100 plus. Seeing people driving 100 plus is not uncommon anymore. So it's a big problem everywhere.
The average speed went up when COVID hit too. And people are out and about. For some reason, that affected the average speed of people over the limit. It's interesting to me to watch the traffic slow down in Des Moines when you get to the point where people know they will get an automatic ticket too for the ones that are fixed cameras down there. It really has slowed the traffic there. Anybody else up here?
Your Honor?
Yes.
I would just like to note the use of this technology isn't uncommon. Traveled to our in-laws in Northeast Iowa, which requires going through communities. There's no bypasses. I counted 5 communities in a row that had traffic laws are photo enforced. So this isn't something new to us or uncharted territory. So I encourage us not to be afraid of that portion of it.
I would also just like to add that I've had some constituents from my ward reach out to me regarding persistent speeding and identifying that it's the same groups of cars or the same cars over and over, and suggesting things such as speed bumps as a way to deter that. That has been shown through studies that are easily Googleable on the internet. Sometimes speed bumps are the very thing that encourages aggressive driving, not slows people down. So I'm very interested in discussing something that will actually have a way of monitoring and catching the bad guys.
Your Honor. So once again, give me $165 and I will sit with a radar gun and give me the fee that you're going to give this company. Or I don't know how I feel about this. You're saying no fixed cameras. You're saying a movable device.
Well, you set policy, so it'll be up to you. But I'm interested in mobile devices. Is what I'm interested in. But maybe the city council decides to do something else.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Something else came to mind quick. You talk about the public safety aspect. What about safety to your officers in traffic-related stops?
Well, that's a great point, because traffic enforcement is one of the most dangerous things that a police officer can do for a variety of reasons. So there is an argument to be made that it enhances the safety of our officers if they have to do less of it.
I've defended one of those cases down in Des Moines. My client hit a police officer, squished him between the door and the car. He lived, but he was hurt.
So I think Mike volunteered. I'm looking for one more volunteer. Okay. So Captain Jones is on a much-needed vacation this week, but he will be in touch with you guys, and we will get something going. And I've made it very clear that second meeting in July, we want to come back with some sort of report.
Check with Windsor Heights, just while they're at it. You know, they seem to make the news more than
I don't
anybody
want
else
to be
does.
lumped in with that nightmare. Yeah.
They had problems with sidewalks down there, too. I'm sure Mr. Hoop knows about that one, man. Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. All right. That ends our automated traffic enforcement discussion, and we are now to the public comment, where the members of the public may make comments on the item that was not on the agenda at this time. Again, you approach the mic, state your name and address. Limit your comments to 3 minutes unless I authorize longer. Direct your comments to the mayor council as a whole, and we are not to engage in discussion or debate on those items, and no action may be taken on them. Otherwise, we might violate the open meetings laws. The microphone is open. Yes, sir.
My name is Melvin Brown, 416 Union. As everybody that's supposed to look out after the taxpayers, if all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed on State Street, who's going to work on, or how that's going to pan out? You know, they're going to pour concrete sooner or later, and then we're going to come down through there and tear the street back up. So my curiosity is that, have we taken care of that idea? Thank you.
Thank you. The microphone is still open for other public comment. Failing that, we are adjourned. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's just me again. Doris Kinnick, 2020 Catalina Place, Marshalltown. As I was listening to Rachel about the ARL, the person, who is doing the trap release and or trap neuter and release is retiring. We do have a cat issue. I don't know exactly how to even start with this discussion, but cats do have a special place They do keep the rodents down, so I guess that's a good thing. But obviously, we do need to take care of the population issue of it. So, you know, it's just something to think about as far as some type of program to help, maybe even, you know, get some money out of that general fund and, you know, help curtail the cat population, or at least, you know, stop it a little bit. So thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else? We are adjourned at 7:10 p.m. Thanks for coming.